hammer it home. And I find it so disarming to be... I declare myself a third party. I'm a libertarian because I believe, quite by accident, libertarian ideals are the closest to what the biblical example of utopia was. You know, a lot of people like to argue that the book of Acts was functional communism, but I believe it was actually utopia. People weren't forced by a governing body to share their goods. They did it because it benefited everybody, which is what utopia is. I don't take cocaine because in utopia it's not going to benefit everybody if I'm a drug addict. And that's basically how it worked in the book of Acts. But you have people running around. There's already enough of us trying to make our ideas heard by everybody, whatever they are. Faith, politics, you know, personal music tastes, it doesn't matter. It all ends up the same anyway. So why not take the step and decide? I'm not, you know, if I run into Ronnie James Dio tomorrow, I'm not going to tell him that I think he's worshiping the devil because he came up with this. By the way, Sicilian woman came up with that. His grandmother. It has nothing to do with devil horns. She did it to ward off evil. Interesting little thing. It was on, he told the story himself on VH1's History of the Metal. If you ran into a Ronnie James Dio tomorrow, and you know in 48 hours he's going to be dead, are you going to say you're going to hell because your music is from the devil? Or are you going to try to get to know the guy? I mean, if you have an open door and you sit down and you have a beer with him, you sit down and you have a smoke with him, whatever it is, it doesn't matter to me. Are you going to tell him he's going to hell? Or, as you guys are talking about life and he's sharing stuff with you and he's opening up, are you going to try to tell him about Jesus? Are you going to love him because Jesus, God, is delighted that he exists? Delighted that he woke up this morning. Delighted that he has the talent that he has. A lot of people make the mistake. God isn't happy because you're not glorifying him with your voice. Listen, obviously God isn't thrilled when you write a song about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But the mere use of your talent in his presence, whether you're worshiping him at that moment or just using the said talent, is worship to him, and he does delight in it. So guess what that means by default? He delighted that Ronnie James Dio had a phenomenal voice. And because of that, my heart tells me that he made every attempt up until the last breath to reach Ronnie. These people that undoubtedly, there's a few of them running around saying he's in the smoking section now, that's where he belongs. Isn't it ironic that those are the very people that won't make it to heaven? And won't it be even more shocking for a lot of us when we get to heaven and we see someone like Ronnie James Dio there? Because even him, even that was important to God. Because I'm saved. I'm a follower. And God delights in the fact that I get up in the morning and that I exist. But let me tell you something. God doesn't delight any less than anyone from Dio to Ozzy. He's delighted that they're alive too. But he desperately wants to know them. And if as the people who introduce these people to God, we're doing anything less than just, when the opportunity arises and they open up to us, share what we believe and what keeps what is the duct tape that keeps our universe glued together when things are tough. Beyond that, we're taking liberties we shouldn't take. When you stand up and say, I'm going to shut my mouth and say only what I'm supposed to say, introduce God the way I'm supposed to introduce God, and love people the way I'm supposed to love people. When you stand up and make that decision and don't condemn people and don't get mad because their morals don't agree with your morals and their walk doesn't agree with your walk, and the fact that they believe this and you believe that is in total disagreement, the day you decide to stop doing that and just try to see them through God's eyes and try to see them as the person that God admires and loves and delights in, on the day that you make that decision, my friends, that day you begin to awaken the fury.